The UN report that gives an hour-by-hour account of the 5-day military operation in Mora in March 2022, where more than 500 people were killed by Malian troops and foreign military personnel believed to be from Wagner, a Russian mercenary group. The report is based on an extensive human rights fact-finding mission conducted by UN staff in Mali over several months. It reveals the shocking details of the worst single atrocity associated with the Wagner group outside Ukraine. According to the report, the massacre began on March 23, 2022, when several helicopters flew over the village of Mora, located in the Mopti region of central Mali. The helicopters opened fire on the crowds gathered for the weekly market, killing and injuring many people. The helicopters then landed troops around the homes and cattle pens. The soldiers moved swiftly, ordering men into the center of the village and gunning down those trying to escape. When some armed militants fired back, the shooting intensified. The report says that over the next 5 days, hundreds more people were killed in extrajudicial executions by Malian troops and foreign military personnel believed to be from Wagner, a mercenary outfit run by Yevgeny Prigozhin, a close ally of the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. The report also documents cases of torture, rape, and looting committed by the perpetrators. It says that most of the victims were unarmed civilians belonging to the Fulani ethnic group, who have been targeted by both government forces and armed groups in Mali's long-running conflict. The report concludes that there are strong indications that more than 500 people were killed in Mora, and that these killings amount to war crimes and could also constitute crimes against humanity. The report calls for a prompt and impartial investigation into the massacre and for those responsible to be held accountable. It also urges the Malian authorities to cooperate with the UN Human Rights Office and to protect the survivors and witnesses of the atrocity. The report also raises serious concerns about the presence and activities of foreign military personnel in Mali, especially those linked to Wagner, which has been accused of involvement in multiple massacres and human rights abuses in Mali and elsewhere in Africa. The report warns that the use of such mercenaries could undermine Mali's sovereignty and stability, as well as regional peace and security. It calls on all states to refrain from providing any support or assistance to Wagner or any other private military or security company operating in Mali without proper oversight and accountability. The evidence that links Wagner to the massacre, such as internal messages obtained by The Guardian, eyewitness accounts, and satellite imagery. One of the main sources of evidence that implicates Wagner in the massacre is a series of internal messages obtained by The Guardian last year. These messages reveal that Wagner operatives were deployed in Mali since late 2021 and were involved in several military operations against Islamist militants. The messages also show that Wagner was aware of the atrocities committed by Malian troops and even encouraged them to shoot everyone. Another source of evidence is the testimony of eyewitnesses who survived the massacre. They described how foreign mercenaries, who spoke a language that was neither English nor French, accompanied Malian soldiers and participated in the killings. They said that the foreigners wore military fatigues and carried sophisticated weapons and equipment. They also said that the foreigners looted houses, stole jewelry, and confiscated cell phones to eliminate any visual evidence. A third source of evidence is satellite imagery analyzed by the New York Times and human rights groups. The imagery identified the sites of at least 2 mass graves, which matched the witnesses' descriptions of where captives were executed and buried. The imagery also showed signs of burning and destruction in several locations in Mora, indicating a systematic attempt to cover up the massacre. These 3 sources of evidence, along with other reports from diplomats, officials, and human rights groups, provide a strong indication that Wagner was directly involved in the slaughter of hundreds of civilians in Mora, one of the worst atrocities in Mali's decade-long conflict.